just talk stuff and repeat stuff. I'm living this stuff.
And you can thank me for covering your astro. Jeez. Hey, friend. We are ending Scorpio season with a bang with a new moon at 28 degrees. Welcome to Leading Out Loud, the spiritual shift show that's hot and holy. I'm psychic astrologer Christopher Wotecki, sensei of SeriousJoy.com.
And I'm Scott Cruz, psychic medium and mentor with ScottCruzPM.com. So how has been the tail end of Scorpio season for you, Christopher?
I'd say it's been a shift show. Scorpio season has been one of the most uncomfortable seasons I've ever had. And, mind you, I've done some weird medical procedures. I mean, it's been so uncomfortable, but I think it's going to end up just fine. I think it's going to end up better than ever, but that's because of me being a Taurus. I mean, whenever you do your opposite sign, you sort of shore up all the issues with yourself. Yeah. And so in that regard, it's doing great. I'm doing great. So, but I'd say it's tough because this Scorpio season revealed a lot of truth, or maybe it was not truth, but things you ignored.
Yeah.
Because the truth they revealed to me, it's like they're always there, but I was ignoring them.
Yeah, and I feel like it's been more pushing to speak your truth, right, and not glossing it over, and that can make a lot of people uncomfortable, But I've been noticing that within myself, like I just got to speak my truth, whether people like it or not, and so I have to do it for me. I have to do it to get it out of my system and not holding things in, and so it's definitely been encouraging that for me as well. Yeah, and so I think that's a good thing because it's funny, even though it might cause complications. It's like, say, I feel lighter for doing it, for being, Yeah,
no, absolutely lighter. And I'm still having, actually we're at step 27 today, which is the day of execution. Like for Scorpio, this would be an executioner, like literally someone who kills things or, exits, is in charge of ending things, right? Maybe a divorce attorney would be step 27 Scorpio. Tomorrow, step 28, a new moon, one of the second new moon at 28 degrees. We have 6 that'll be in a row. And 28, by the way, is the step of creating a new world. Yeah. So we have 6 consecutive new moons that say new world, new world, new world. And so tonight's is going to be really the death of the old world officially because in the beginning. So you could say that in the next 24 hours, you're going to see the world reboot, or at least your world reboot. Mine happens to be falling perfectly in line with the steps. I don't even try to do that. It just happens.
Yeah, it's definitely going along with my chart. Like my chart showing like not like heartbreak, but like a revamping of the heart for me. You know what I'm saying? And so, and coming and building things with my relationships. And so there might be like a restructuring period for me, but then it also expands into like a better hierarchy in love. So I'm definitely sensing that. I've been feeling a lot of that of releasing, but also like, what, damn it, I'm done with the pattern of people pleasing. And that's been resurfacing for me a lot.
I am done with that pattern too, actually. That's probably that's probably the core issue that I've gotten to the core of. I mean, is that why have I sold myself so cheap? Why have I given myself away so much? Why do I need to be so generous? In times of when I do things, and why not give myself credit? It's all those types of things, and I can't. I don't know where it starts. I mean, it's past life thing for sure, but they're daddy issues really, because usually the father's the one you're trying to prove yourself to, which I did try to prove, but nonetheless, now I feel like I'm not doing that anymore, and so I do feel lighter.
But I also think it's a spinning of like when we're constantly reading people, helping people, guiding people, when we're with people in our daily lives, we understand why people may be behaving this way they're doing. So we jump in and assist and help and guide and want to be kind of the person that helps to smooth things out too. We have that, there's that syndrome that I feel like you and I might both have in those circumstances. So I'm like, I'll leave helping people to my work, and my relationships just got to be fun, and companionship and making sure I'm getting what I deserve. And I used to say a lot of time in my relationships, I don't need anything. My partner now will be like, what do you mean you don't need it? I'm like, I don't need anything. I'm like, no, I do. And so it's like, I think that's part of my awakening right now. My truth is like, no, I do need things in relationships instead of just being so cavalier about it as my aqua self. Yeah. And that's another awakening for aquas.
What's that? Say again?
I said that's another, like a collective awakening for aquas too, is making that kind of refinement in their relationships like that. It's like, no, we do need them, and we do need things in them too. We can't be so airy about it.
Well, Scorpio for Aquarius is their career legacy. So did you see changes in your current legacy where you're drawing lines and not? I mean, I know you gave us a memorandum. No, I'm kidding.
Well, that was that kind of the drawing line really happened for me in Libra season. Actually, well, in September actually is where it really kind of happened for me. And I was drawing a whole list of lines and changes with the behind the scenes of things and how I'm going to do things differently. So that happened kind of for me in September, actually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, I mean, with astrology, it's like it usually comes to a head when the thought works on it. But I usually have started as a visionary. I start things 3 to 6 months ahead of time of when it comes to a head in astrology. So that sounds normal. Especially us. I mean, we're futurists. We see the future, and that's been a hard thing too. Drawing a line, like I've realized, I keep giving future credit to something now. It's like let's see them get
Oh
there.
yeah.
I give future credit to something.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't do that anymore. No more. It's like
Yeah.
I would spend on their potential, not on their truth.
True.
And give way too much in the beginning. And then the thing is, the people I give too much to, they're like, you're being greedy. Like, are you kidding me? It's just like, but I think this all comes down to your own self-love. It's like, you have to just discipline yourself and love yourself where you're hoping others would love you. That's where you become sovereign.
Right. And that's the thing too. When people love you, if you're stepping up and saying, I need something, people love you, be like, okay, I want to do whatever I can do to help you with that. Not, get mad because you're speaking up. Like it should be a cohesive experience. Like, okay, yeah, I want that for you too. To people who support you,
yeah,
and say, yeah, I want to help you do that too. They would encourage it. And I find when people are coming, going like this every time you need something or you want to step up with what you're feeling, and they're just like this, and obviously they're not supporting you. And that's a big awakening, I think, for a lot of people now with their relationships. I was saying it probably in my live show about this month, that relationships coming ahead in that way for a lot of people. That realization.
Realization. I don't know about you, but my signal is kind of weird. But realization. Repeat it. I got distracted. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you caught it too. I was saying like it's coming to a head for a lot of people with the relationships the past month about the realization about the circumstances we're talking about. Are they living up to your potential too? Are they matching you on that? Are they actually being supportive? Or are you actually using your energetic currency to spend on a relationship that isn't? So. And we got to be very conscious of how we're spending our energy, because I would say our energy is also currency too. It
is the currency,
right?
Honestly,
yeah, the core currency.
10th generation of that. Yeah, it's interesting. We'll see. I think we're going to have a lot of interesting changes. So we have a new moon tomorrow. We'll talk about the planets here in a second. But it's interesting that in the headlines this week, it's all about the releasing of the Epstein files. Which, what I say, Scorpio, truths you cannot.
Right.
Truth, cannot unsee, and all this kind of stuff happening. So we'll do some Epstein stuff. Let's bring up our first headline. We're going to do Epstein block here, and then we'll go into some others. You want to read them?
Yeah, U.S. Congress votes to release the Epstein files. Only one member of the House opposed the release, which is Magic Mike, of course. He was kind of upset about it because he feels like there's going to be other people that might become victims to, a lot of the participation that they may not have participated in. So, it's just been, I don't understand why this has been so complex, but it's crazy the unanimous vote on that. To me, there's a suspicion, like, how come all of a sudden now they're all like, yes, right? So my psyche is like, are they going to be scrubbing things? And how much are they going to be redacting? And so have they done that process, which is why it took them so long? So I'm being speculative. I don't want to be predictive on it because I want people to kind of like make their own decision too. But that's kind of where I'm leading with my psyche on it. It feels very, very interesting.
My psychic side says there's an inside deal.
Oh, 100%. Always.
I mean, all of Congress kind of met secretly and was like, okay, here's the deal. All right, we're going to be unanimous on this. We're going to look, that's what I feel like. I don't feel like the only time they do get together and talk.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. What's our next line? So,
well, the Democrats from the Oversight Committee released some of the emails last week. Not all were made public, and some were revealing scandalous information. And one was just talking about, where Ghislaine sent an email in 2011 to Jeffrey Epstein saying that the dog has not barked, is Trump. So, he spent hours with the victim, and so forth, and has never once mentioned it. So it's kind of implying that, Trump hasn't like released information or hasn't come to being a whistleblower. That's what they're speculating. To me, they could be interpreted so many different ways, but I'm going to leave it very neutral and vague about that. But
wait, who wrote to who? I don't get this context.
Ghislaine wrote this to Epstein. Or Epstein to Ghislaine, excuse me, reversed.
That dog
hasn't barked at Trump.
The dog hasn't barked at Trump. Spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned.
Right. Right. So the victim, whoever's one of the victims, such and such, spent hours at the house with him. Yeah.
But what does barking mean? I mean, like does bark mean like feed me, or does it bark mean I got to go out, put me out?
It can be interpreted that way. Yeah. I mean, and we kind of talked about before a show, and it's like barking usually means like he hasn't spoke up, he hasn't ratted out, is what people are interpreting that to be, and so. Look, I because it's political, I'm keeping a very neutral stance, just reading about it, and so there's obviously something very speculative about all this, and so I'm not gonna give my read either way on this because it's political. I don't feel like hearing people.
I heard Trump did a 360 or 180 on it, like he was like, he didn't want to release it, and then all of a sudden he's like, fine, release it. I don't know. I haven't paid attention, but it sounds typical Gemini.
Yeah.
First one way, then the other is what I'm saying. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And newly released email 2. Is this one from 2018? Mark Epstein. Oh yeah, Mark Epstein's, which is Jeffrey Epstein's brother, was writing to Jeffrey, asking him if Putin has the photos of Trump blowing Bubba. Now, again, this has been going around a lot. So
Putin has the photos of Trump. Okay. Ask who if Putin has the photos.
So what was going on? People were saying Bubba was Bill Clinton. So then they were just making memes about the big beautiful Bill, right? Being Bill Clinton. So there's a lot of things circulating around. So this is our stupid news, Christopher. Today, this is our dumb news. Wow. This is what we're talking about in the news, right? So stupid.
This is bad.
But so now they're speculating that means there's some photos or videos of. It's like, look, just release the files and let us see who's participating in the illegal activity and the disgusting activity. That's what we want to know. All this other stuff that's coming out is just like it's pacifying people, but I feel like we're not getting to the root of what really we need to get in the root of. But this is what they're talking about in the news.
I'm telling you, I'm feeling molested by the news media.
I mean, it's ridiculous. It's we're being gaslit. All we want to know is who was in participation of child trafficking. That's what we want to know. And we want them to be accountable, period. I don't care, Democrat, Republican, whatever it is, and that's what we want to know. So, and there was also a newly released email to Larry Summers. Epstein reported called Trump the worst person he'd ever known. And he said he was dangerous. And so I think he stepped down too, Larry Summers as well.
That's interesting. But how can he, if he's dangerous, then Trump must be smart. Like you can't have both ways.
You can read it and look into anything, but yeah, he stepped down.
So he resigns from the OpenAI board of directors. Wait, who is Larry Summers? He's the founder?
Yeah.
Wait, he's the founder? The founder stepped down?
Wait, wow. Let me see if he's the founder. Let me double check on that before I do fake news.
I can't remember these AI people. No,
he might not be a founder. He might be. Let me see his participation, his actual
pull it up. Yeah,
role. Because I'm curious to know too his role with that.
Summer's been a major.
Including serving U.S. Secretary of Treasury under President Clinton and was the director of National Economic Council under President Obama. He was also president of Harvard University. He worked World Bank, following revelations. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean World Bank. We're done.
Right, and AI.
Yeah,
board. And he's just on the board, the open board.
Is that him up there? Okay, got a picture.
Yeah, he resigned from OpenAI's board. So he was just on the board. So not so much the founder. So there could be people on the board, and so and perhaps because of this Epstein stuff coming out,
that'd be a great excuse to get rid of any board. Be like, guys, I think I might come up with the Epstein thing. It's better for we both if I just leave right now.
Yeah. So he's not a founder, but he's definitely on the board. But again, what does that mean? It's like an HOA.
Board is like board comes with salary. I mean, for ChatGPT, I imagine the board comes some significant payment.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Insight into some amazing stuff. Like
sure.
What's happening.
Yeah,
that's a big deal to step off of it, though. That's a big deal. You just got off one of the best companies in the next 20 years.
I know, right? But again, like that's kind of an admission of guilt when people resign like that, in my opinion, right?
Yeah, totally. At least we'll go ahead and judge them. Next headline.
Saudi Arabia plans to increase its U.S. investments from $600 billion to almost $1 trillion. So, I mean,
in technology, AI, energy, defense, technology, infrastructure, and critical minerals. Well, it's in stuff they don't have.
Sure, but again, I guess that's another backdoor way of doing America first. Let's have Saudi Arabia give us some money, $1 trillion to help us out of debt. So
as we phase out of oil, they don't have anything on us. It's like we bought all our oil from them exclusively. So
exactly.
That's the kind of thing. Look, though, here's the thing. I don't think the Saudis make bad investments. They don't make bad investments. They actually seem to be really intelligent as a I was going to say species, as a culture of knowing what's worthy and what's not worthy, what's really quality and not quality. I mean, I hear like their hotels are amazing quality. Everything's high quality with a lot of care and energy put into things they invest in. So, y'all, that tells you right now the America is a good investment. to me, I'm kind of proud of that. It's 40% increase in 1 year.
My question is, what are they getting in return? Like, what are we doing in return? That's the question.
They're buying a piece of us, so they'll get returns every year.
Well, of course. I mean, they're fighting with China, I'm sure, but that's the thing we have to look out for too. So, again, I like to just not really go deep into politics, but it's an interesting, progression, I would say.
I'm glad it makes us more expensive to the Chinese too. It's like, it seemed like the only thing that was buying that stuff with us is China for a long time.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's like we're a May sale. Everything must go.
Mm-hmm.
We have one more, don't we?
No, that was it. That was the last one.
See,
that is
what quality in American television right there.
Yeah, we skipped the Diddy thing, but and also crypto was kind of doing low this past week too. Like it is highest this year, all time high, which I predicted last year. I said crypto is going to be all time high, invest, and it did, and now it's kind of dipping a little bit. And so, of course, I think, and they start to lower interest rates, so I think they should do a little bit more, and that would see a nice boost in crypto. So Eric was kind of panicking about that going below like 89, and so I said it probably Wednesday, Thursday is going to boost up, and today's at 93, so we'll probably see it kind of going, shortly up, next week or so. So I just want to kind of give some crypto news.
I honestly think the reason to do that is because Uranus went into Taurus, and so the whole Taurus runs, is a conscious of value, and it's at 29 degrees, which is a chaotic degree. 22 and 29 are the most chaotic step numbers. So I imagine that there'll be all sorts of fluxes. It was rising really high when Uranus went to Gemini, which is technology. So literally the universe is investing in technology, and the rate of digital coin went skyrocketing. So I would imagine if that's the case, I'd hold on to it until Uranus is in Gemini. We'll tell you here on this show.
Yeah, and I think too, it's like it's deliberately being tanked, and a lot of a lot of Bitcoin experts are saying like these bigger companies are selling and tanking it purposely, and they speculate it could go above 150 by the end of the year. I'm like, I don't know about that because it's already November, but anything's possible. But I do think we'll see that spike up at some point. So.
I don't know. It's too bad. Because it's a free currency, you can't make law around it, but it should be law that big companies can't buy that shit, man.
It's open. It's like an open market type of thing. So you got money or you're in.
Huh, interesting enough. Well, let's see, what time is it? Well, we're talking, oh my God, it's been a half. We're going to talk today about sacred sexuality. But before we do, why don't we run our commercials and, make our money. Now live on SeriousJoy.com, Moon Wisdom, what the Sagittarius new and full moon will mean to you.
Happy holidays! I'm Sanandra, founder of CT Organics. For the past 30 years, our goal has been to bring the healing power of plants into your everyday life with simple, clean, organic skin and hair care made with love. CT makes a wonderful gift for the holidays. Enter code word JOY30 at checkout and you'll receive 30% off any individual CT skin and hair care product.
Happy holidays!
Did you know that discordant energies such as illness, trauma, violence, and depression can linger on a property for hundreds of years, going all the way back to the very beginning of that parcel of land? This can also happen with family heirlooms, antiques, or even previously owned furniture. If you've been feeling blocked in life, more ill than usual, or again just uncomfortable in your home, your space could be holding onto residual energies. Refresh My Property can help clear these energies remotely. Scan the QR code to get your free phone consultation today and begin clearing your space and your life.
Lovely. I just want to say CT's great. If you want to buy a product for someone that's completely clean, they're all great products. They really are. But I'm still happy in love with the peppermint shampoo.
Yeah, I love the glow, the orange glow for the face. It's like a moisturizer. I love that stuff. It's really good. It really does make you glow. And she puts so much love into those products, or organic, high quality products.
Yeah, they literally put their hands over and love it, like a person would love food. They literally do that. So those ladies are great. Buy it as a gift to someone who appreciates fine earth goods.
Yes, and they smell good. You know, sometimes like the organic stuff, it has like a very like faint smell. They all smell so good.
Amazing
fragrances on them. Yeah.
This the frankincense also is like they have a frankincense like hand wash stuff. My God, I wash my hands every time with that.
Yep.
And I used to smell. I remember when I used to wash hands with chemical stuff. I'd be like, chemicals. As a kid, I just smell my hands for the next hour. But their stuff is great. Their stuff is great. All ladies are phenomenal.
I would totally vouch for that for CG for sure.
Me too. as we just did. Now, that said, it's been a busy week with retrogrades upon us. Last week, the sun is at 25 Scorpio. This is our zodiac weather and collective read. Last week, the sun at 25 Scorpio trine Jupiter at 25. So basically what that means is that 25 is the step number of our highest potential spiritually. So we're getting a lot of blasts of vibration around high spiritual, and we're creating these grand trines as well with this. Basically, we're stabilizing our future with the intention of spiritual ascension. That's really what it is. Mercury went back to Scorpio today, and it's retrograde. It's been retrograde for a while now, and it's going to oppose Uranus at 29 Taurus. Now that means that there could be some helter-skelter in the next 24 hours in mind versus reality. Also, basically what's happening is a new moon tomorrow. I mean, it all builds up to a new moon. And as I said, we have 6 new moons at 28 degrees. This is the one that's actually going to create the space for something we're going to launch, and that launch will likely be in Pisces, which means in March. So we launch in March a new spiritual timeline. This is the creation of a new world, new spiritual timeline. I have not seen this in astrology in a long time. I mean, we always see a series of numbers, but never new. So that's interesting. So I suspect that the world is preparing for a big change. And then as we go in the sun of Sagittarius, I find people are going to have this revitalized new belief in themselves, or they're going to finally believe and not doubt, one of the two. But it's going to be the start of really a new world in the sense of culture. I mean, I predict that we're going to really not just what you see now is going to just look dated 1 year from now. I think we're going to look back at our life 1 year from now and go, holy moly, when was that? What do you pick up on the collective read?
Yeah, I like always kind of like a theme, kind of theme it. And I feel like the month ahead, I would say the full month, like the theme for me is like making the unseen seen. And so there's a lot of variables when it comes to that, both on the individual level and the collective level. So making the unseen seen for yourself is actually taking those emotions that you've been kind of bearing down within yourself and making them visible for yourself, both tangibly and also literally, because we got to start expressing those emotions we've been repressing. And so there's going to be a lot of push within the next month about trying to push those emotions out and getting them out, so you can actually somewhat metaphorically make your emotions tangible. Say, this is what I've been feeling. This is what I need to be doing. This is how I should be moving forward. There's a lot of that going on. But making the unseen seen is also to revelation and bring the truth to the surface. As we had early, in the middle of 2025, we had a revelation period, but we're also having another revelation period, which is more about the truth being shown. That also means that your intuition and your psychic abilities will start seeing more beyond what you've been able to see before. And so those who are practicing, you might have a breakthrough within your abilities as well, and seeing beyond what you weren't able to before. And getting deeper into the metaphysical aspect. So that's also making the unseen seen for you too. So collectively, a lot of truths will be revealed. I'm not surprised that the Epstein files have been released. So there's going to be a lot of that making the unseen seen in next month with a lot of that too. Not completely, because it's going to be some time with that. But it's time for ourselves to dig out those things that we've been suppressing and making them visible, and making sure you're visible in your relationships and what you're doing with your work, what you're doing with your expressions. It's time to be seen.
Well, I tell you, you were spot on about next month. I've already done the analysis with our team about Capricorn Cancer, and that's exactly it. What is showing, in the progression of the planets is that we are going to be processing, really processing the emotion. You could say may have started in Cancer itself. You might have an emotional sense, July. Right. But if you were in denial, it's just the Capricorn energy allows us to take hold of emotion and do something with it, commit to change, whatever. So we're going to sort of wring out our emotional matrix for the new year, and it could be extremely emotional for those who've been in denial. But then very, relief for those who are aware and just wanted to end it once and for all. Not life, but the emotions. So
true.
Wow.
Yeah. But a lot of these times too can bring a lot of disruptance to relationships too, but it doesn't necessarily mean that disruptance is something that's permanent. It just means it's a little bit of a rocky road, a little bit of resettling, resituating too within this time within relationship. So I would tell people too, if there's some sort of a rift within your relationship, doesn't necessarily mean it's going anywhere. It just means that there's readjustments that need to be made.
Interesting. I literally was recording the Mega Monthly for Sagittarius, and I think it's the full moon at 13 degrees shows tremendous disruption happening on that full moon that happens.
Interesting.
Wow. And then from that until Taylor Swift's birthday, it's going to just get better and better.
Are we using that as a marking point? Yeah, Taylor Swift's birthday, really?
We've now replaced the date with Taylor Swift's picture. And that's what we do now. Hey, we're going to honor the queen,
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I'm already preparing my gift for her this year. Just kidding.
By the way, I'm just saying the prediction I made earlier, like last maybe a year and a half ago about Taylor Swift, like I knew they're going to get married. I knew she's going to want to settle down. I knew that was all going to happen. She's going to want to have a kid with him. Remember I said, I said, I don't know. I think they're actually getting, I think they're getting engaged or something, or there's talks about getting engaged. And
is she pregnant? Is she pregnant?
No, not yet. But I saw her wanting to go that way with him, and I said it felt business, but I said, but there is some sort of kinship they've connected with together, and so they're talking about. I think they are engaged. I'm not sure, but I don't really follow up on that. But when it comes to prediction, I do like to kind of double check. So
I feel she's gonna be pregnant any moment now.
Yeah,
I bet it's a girl. Let's make your predictions. I bet it's a girl. I was gonna say I believe she's gonna be pregnant as a girl. Yeah, because the only thing that can like put you in check is a child, and so usually
I feel like females runs on his side of the family too. Like they either have a lot of females on his side of the family. I don't know much about him, so I feel like the possibly a female too. But I feel like they're going to do something interesting with the gender, like that perhaps they might make it very neutral, which seems surprising coming from her and them. But
name you're talking about?
They might just be like, oh, it's a girl, but like it's a tomboy. They might do something of that nature. I feel like, and I feel so out of character. But every time I predict something, I'm always like, what the hell until it happens.
Yeah, you're not quite sure what it is that you're seeing. Yeah.
No, I know what it is, but it doesn't make sense logically. But I know the read is accurate, right? And so, but they might do something different. They might be very gender neutral, and I'm like, I know it's not their style, but I don't know. But I do see you might be right on the girl energy in that sense. But I said she's wanting that motherhood chapter.
Yep, I feel that, and also a new season of albums. Like it totally brings a whole new topic to sing about.
Yeah,
it's good art. It's good artwork. Well, interesting. Well, I feel it's a bumpy road. I think you're going to see probably some helter skelter here in the last days of Scorpio, which is Friday, and then once Sagittarius hits, I think we're all going to be wanting a new reality, a new world. So we'll see. Yeah. Now, Scott, you offer new realities weekly on your show, don't you?
New realities. Yeah, brand new ones. I just hand them out. You get a reality. You get a reality. That's right. Tomorrow, my live show, I'm actually talking about belief detox. We're going to talk about how to kind of, and I think it's a perfect time for this too, how to get rid of those beliefs that you have been anchored down to, and how to kind of redirect them into a newer form belief and purge them, start anew, how to express it without complication. And that'll be tomorrow. And I also offer live one-on-one readings as well as a collective read as well too. So I do this every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Join me tomorrow, or you can book a one-on-one private session with me at scottcruzepm.com.
Best investment you ever made, let me tell you. we don't have a cool musical thing you've done? Okay, darn. Usually we have a nice commercial there. All right, let's move on. We're running ridiculously efficient now. Now, that said, our topic this week is the sacred sexuality, which is good for the last week of Scorpio, because if you don't know, as you move up in the step numbers or up in the degrees in a sign, you move into the more and more sophisticated, more and more evolved understanding of that state of awareness.
Right.
And so anyone born, particularly, I would say, in that last 10 days of Scorpio, are pretty good in bed, just so you know. So ladies, check it out. Probably good in bed. Because that's important. You're using astrology for practical matters. But, we hear all this a lot. And I have to say, we're kind of at that point. I mean, gosh. Everyone has an OnlyFans, it seems like. It's like so many only. I'm like, really? Every American feels like a porn star? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I saw this woman, she was 70. Eric and I were watching it, and it was like a documentary on Vice, and she was doing OnlyFans, and she's like this granny. She's like doing all this stuff on OnlyFans, and she makes like shitloads of money. She's like the top 2%. And it's just like, and she does it because she had a hard time. She has and the story thickens because she has a special needs kid. So she's trying to save money so she can leave him a house when she goes. And so it's like, wow, because you never know why people do such things like that. People tend to judge it. And so when I heard her story, I'm like, oh my gosh, what a sacrifice. And then she's like, whatever, so yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. But what I think that really is too a reflection of, Christopher, is that people can do whatever they want this day and age. People are not taking advantage of online and remote work and branding themselves enough these days, So to me, it's just a reflection that we can do whatever we want to do and take advantage of what we have, the accessibility of online, and turn whatever into business.
Yeah, someone's saying it's democratized. Yeah, sure, I guess so. I mean, I'm sure but back in the 70s, it's more like a Polaroid, wasn't it? I mean, that's all you got as far as pornography is concerned. I mean, even, you didn't want to take, I guess
you true.
You had to get your film, like taking it,
sorry.
exposed or whatever. You had to go get them developed, right? So, you know,
That's true. That person has a really good point. Yeah, because they had live cams back in the day.
yeah.
So yeah, but there has always been that voyeurism, exhibitionism, and I just think it's just an elevation of sex work, and a different way, and
Sure. I guess. I mean, I have, by the way, no judgment against it. In fact, I
No, I
spend
don't either.
thousands a month on OnlyFans, but it's no. I just my big thing would be like, well, I don't know. I could I subscribe to one. Like it's like one person. How creative are you gonna get with these pictures? I don't know. But I do like the fact that it's diversified amongst the people, we the people. That's kind of interesting. But it's certainly not sacred. What my point is really getting to, like, if you watch porn like I do. But really, I've seen it once upon a time. It seems it's always to me seemed very, very cold, detached kind of energy. I was never really turned on, or excited because, and especially if there's a plot or any kind of, lines of it. But the point is, like, it sort of represents, like, with the common American or whatever, everyone being in, having so much Pornhub and having some, the fan sites. We kind of hit the bottom, haven't we, as far as sacredness? It's like, it's not only not sacred, it's like in every website, it's like it's available everywhere. So as far as sacred sexuality, I'd say we're currently at step 0.
Yeah, but I think there's also liberation to it, at some point too, right? And what I've noticed too, from a spiritual perspective, is seeing people who are maybe not the cookie cutter, right? And like doing just body and finding a group of people who have that quote unquote fetish. And so I just feel it's liberated a lot of people. And I think it takes us to liberate from the physical stuff and then to elevate to the sacredness of it. And so I think we're in that dense portion of sexuality in that sense, but I do see it evolving to be more sacred because we now have gotten so liberated with the physicality, the superficial, shallow version of things. We're going to start craving more. And that's part of our evolution moving forward too, with our ascension,
Well, when your first line is, what are your kinks? You know what I mean? Like
ASL,
I'm like, what's your sign? They're like, what are your kinks? I'm like, I don't know. So we have someone here, Flame, is very passionate about porn, but oh my God. Okay, stop with this. You're making me uncomfortable. Just kidding.
Let's get into it. Divine feminine, divine masculine dynamics. So, like, how would you define the two?
Okay,
in contrast,
in the concert, my only point is, like, first of all, I'm not against porn. I'm not against anything,
Okay, so this
fantasy or anything like that. I think we should explore sexuality. I think we should be as open sexually as we want. I think it's the basis of creativity. It is the root chakra. Meets the sacral is where your most creative energy comes from. And I think, honestly, I think people are not having enough sex, and I don't think they're, really enjoying it as they could. That's my flat line on it. However, did you know it gets higher than this? And one aspect I think is a problem is the divine, divine feminine versus divine masculine. Over the course of history, we have somehow squashed female energy to be subservient and kill the divine feminine. And I'm not sure why we talk about divine feminine with sexuality per se, because I never think of Mother Mary as sexual, or these other female characters. But I do feel that there is, when it comes to sexuality, is really all around the woman, who is the catcher's mitt, and the creator of whatever you're going to create, like the one of the two chosen. But for me, divine femininity is actually is more about the creation and lovemaking sense, and bringing the sacredness of what a woman is into the picture. Divine, and I would say for the masculinity, I haven't seen anything divine. Myself. What about you?
Well, I mean, we all have divine feminine, divine masculine counterparts as individuals, right? And so, and I like to disassociate divine feminine, divine masculine from gender, although a lot of us do pose and have, the majority of such. But, I say if we actually focus on both dynamics of our divine feminine, divine masculine, I would say the divine feminine within us is the nurturing part of it. And the divine masculine is like the go-getter. It's like, I want to go, I want to proceed. And it's a hunter, right? And so the determined, and so the warrior mentality. So we all have those qualities. And so if we come into alignment with understanding, can I nurture and also be assertive at the same time? Then we have the full capacity of experiencing the sexual nature the way it's intended to. And it takes a lot of trauma purging. I've experienced a lot of sexual trauma in my past, right? And so I also worked as a stripper in my 20s and did sex work then too, because that's how I took control over my sexual abuse. And so yes, and so I find that when we find the both components of such, because a divine mass is a very hungry energy. It's like a lion. It seeks, right? And the divine
Seduction.
feminine is like, I'm going to soothe. I'm going to nurture. And so, and I think that's the dynamics we need to understand we have both of. And so when we understand the imbalance that we have, then we can understand why we have a poor sex life or not, or a good one,
Yeah. Well, so you're saying like divine feminine is lovemaking and divine masculine is pounding.
Well, to cheapen it, okay.
Also, it's like, has the male really risen? I mean, we know it has to rise for the intercourse to happen, but does it? I haven't seen male sexuality be represented in any kind of a high vibration way. Really, have you?
It depends, because I think just even for me, like I think that just the male essence is, what it's truly intended for is high vibe, because all because we focus on physicality doesn't necessarily mean it's low vibe, because I believe that physicality is what ascends our energy and playing these roles, right? So playing a male role and what's intended to me is high vibe. And it could be and a male energy could also be very in tune, Christopher. It could also be very intuitive and protective, right? And a great guide. That's a very divine masculine energy for me too, and so it doesn't mean there's no sensitivity to either one, but I think that's where we're coming to the ego version of our counterparts, but yeah, I think it's totally high vibe. And I think once we appreciate the physicality, a lot of times I get the devil card in reads too, about people just like embrace the physical, embrace the intimate, and so that's how we resurrect and evolve, so I think it's all high vibe.
It's all high vibe. Yeah. Well, I think, it's interesting. I'm seeing for Danny Leon is gone now. All of the commenting, him or her, I can't tell. But I say, y'all do not assume anything. If you saw what happens after this show, I'm just kidding. But I feel like healing sexual trauma is a big part of it. Like, I think at the end of the day, people who get caught up in the sex industry and don't want to be or feel used by it have probably been victims of trauma, and it is a way of acting out. So I think I have sexual trauma from my childhood. I certainly had all sorts of confusion acted out as well. Got hurt many times, so because, despite the perpetrator, and that does happen. So I think there's a lot of stuff there as well.
Totally. And that's why, not to interrupt you, sorry to interrupt you, but that's why, I did, bondage shows in my 20s because of the sexual abuse I experienced. I was like, yeah, well, I'm going to be, do bondage shows because I'm going to take my power back, for my abuser. And I did. It was a weird form of therapy that I acted out. And I knew even at that time, that's why I was doing it, and yeah, so I think there's a lot we can still express and heal from through our sexual expressions, based on our sexual traumas that we might have.
Yeah, I've had sexual healing moments too. I have to say too that had to do with the with the partner, like and that the energy that person brought. It's like whoa, So I do believe in that as well. But I think it's common to another thing is for the shame game and stuff that happens with victims is that over time the abuse itself becomes sexually arousing. So
True.
The victim becomes aroused by the original event. As full circle of it, because it was, after all, a sexual event. So,
right.
It gets confusing, and we have nothing, that's teaching or talking about it in our society in America. Meanwhile, Europe seems to be extreme. I mean, Europe seems to be very mature about sex. I mean, say what you will about their, about whatever there, but man, the people there really seem to look at us like we're teenagers, and maybe we are. Yeah. I mean, we are.
But yeah, totally. And a lot of times those who have those traumas, like you said, they get aroused but when they mature, and then they start to try to replicate that, and then that's where it becomes an obsession, I find with people in an imbalance because they're trying to replicate something that really was, they haven't really addressed that really was a negative for them. So
that's true. They're replicating either way. They either become a perpetrator themselves,
right,
or they keep putting themselves in victim situations, similar situations that they've now find turns them on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's interesting. We're in a weird spot, in that sense. But boundaries, really, I think, as far as feeling, having really positive, powerful, intimate lovemaking, it's all about boundaries. And when I talk about boundaries, I'm not talking about the ones you have for your partner. You have to go in understanding your own comfort zones very clearly. And some people go, I don't know until I try. No, you have a sense of it. Trust me. You got a sense of it. Start with a sense of it. Just to walk in and go, I just want to end the date, date on a kiss. Let's say, keep it very 1950s. Just knowing that going into it right there, knowing that's where your comfort zone is, makes both parties more comfortable because people are pretty intuitive. And so he or she, who you're with is going to kind of sense it's all about a kiss tonight. If you've already gone clear about that or whatever, and it seems to me there's a lot of miscommunication, a lot of clarity, people saying no and yes at the same time, which I do think happens a lot.
Yeah.
And then people cross lines. So I think we have to know where we're comfortable with. And if you don't know where you're comfortable with, well, check your fantasies, because whatever your fantasies about, you're actually wanting, to some degree. But sometimes the same sense of boundaries, you realize it's for fantasy only. That some things aren't made to be made real. They're surreal. That's where I think the power of fantasies can lie as well.
Yeah, and I like to just say not so much about boundaries enhancing intimacy, but more about refinement. Like kind of what you're saying before, like understand like what is your expression, and where are you now with your expression sexually, and are you willing to go a little further with that? And sometimes partners can help with that, and like, oh, partner, what's this? And like, am I willing to extend my threshold to that? And I feel like the more open you are with yourself, the more open you may be to that. And so a lot of reservations I find with sexuality has been because of past experiences, of course. And so, but I think I see a lot of like tantric sex, stuff. I find a lot of these different avenues of people really pushing their limits with sex, not because of the physical, because how much they can extend themselves spiritually and emotionally, so I would say it's more about like refinement. I do this, I don't like this, and marry yourself with those ideas and see how can you expand with that. Because I always say everything is expansive. You always want to be the best of whatever it is and whatever dynamic is your life. So I would say we should build these relationships, like with money, build a relationship with money, build a relationship with your sexuality. And I've been working on it so much because of my sexual traumas and trying to peel off these layers of my own reservations and, inhibitions and stuff. And so it's been
inhibitions.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I was surprising. I went from not being so vanilla to very vanilla. And I want to like push myself out of those restrictions because that's a bondage that's coming from, the security of the past I've already gotten over. So we're going to have to like reprogram and reteach ourselves again. That's what I've been in the process of doing for a while, this past year or so.
I'd say I think the gay culture is the healthiest when it comes to boundaries because the first time they meet, you're like, I'm a clap. I'm into this. I'm into that. Like it's like all this exact sexual profile. Basically, all these are in and out, and the kinks you're into, and all. You're like walking the door fully naked. As far as metadata is concerned, it's really intense. Very interesting stuff. Well, I think sex too. First of all, I think we should all be making more love. And when I say that, I say I don't know how much love is included. Talk about sacred sexuality. How much is love included? And I know you have to be in love or whatever. I mean, there's differences. Obviously you're not in love with someone you just met. But at the end of the day, how much is it even valued that love is included? The idea of love making, and I can't say many times how many I have. Like just because love is so hard to achieve. Period. In itself in culture with people and their problems. Of course, I'm in a generation that had inherited a lot of dysfunction. I'm a Gen Xer. Our parents, one or two of them got divorced, so we didn't really see any positive models for love at all. And so, I'm approaching 100 now, and it's like I still haven't figured it out. Thank God for genetic technology to keep me young. Love making, but those moments of love making, wow, to include the heart with the genitals is just like green and red. That's Christmas.
But that's the point. Like that's the synchronicity of like sexual intimacy and the depth behind it, And so I think they put too much emphasis on the word love. Love is just sharing. Sometimes that one night stand could have a huge connection. Be like, we connected so well, but then like we didn't last. Like, but love doesn't always equal marriage all the time. Sometimes there's an expression that you can feel with somebody that's very intense, and perhaps you just needed that for that moment. And so I think people put so much limitations and too many boundaries on what love really is that it's just a life partner. It's like, nah. There's sometimes I get express love to people I don't know by helping them out, by helping them, when their car breaks down and I drive them to the gas station. That's an expression of love. It only lasts for a moment, expression of love. And so I think if we're more open with our definitions of love connection, we'd have better sex, better relationships. We wouldn't have all this unnecessary parameters on love. That's the one thing I feel like love should not have boundaries on. We should put more boundaries on how we express it, sure, but let love be what it is, and what that expression is.
I love everybody. I mean, I genuinely love people really quickly, and my heart falls for them, and they think that I want to marry them. I'm just like, no. I tell my viewers I love you. I love you. But it's genuine. You can't fake that shit. You can hear in my voice that I'm serious, and I am. But I'll tell you that people freeze up. If I'm on a date and I say I'm loving you or whatever, talk about ending it. I think with the one night stand kind of thing where you're talking about, the reason why the love can come out is because they go in knowing it's over. And people have a lot of intimacy issues. And when you have intimacy issues, knowing it's going to end, which is a boundary, is very safe. And so now I can open up and do this amazing thing because I don't want to know your number tomorrow, Right. And I think that is probably part of the whole, hookup, extravaganza that goes on, is that people really have a fear of holding that, the vulnerability of keeping that open day after day, keeping it open with the fluctuations of a person and their moods. Intimacy is hard. It's really hard.
And that trips a lot of people up, because when they're like, okay, that doesn't long term, it's going to end, and they put all their heart and soul into it, and it's like the other person's like, whoa, but I never felt like this with anybody before. It's like, but why don't they want to be with me? And why are they ghosting me? It's like,
I know.
Yeah, and that's difficult for a lot of people who are seeking those relationships, and it's hard for them to kind of to grasp that connection is not there anymore. And so I think the more we find, like we said before, we refine what we want and we owning that, then we won't have those, I would say, imbalances in the people that we're interacting with, because that causes a lot of problems for people too.
I definitely find in all my observations and readings and third eye seeing into the bedroom that a lot of times what happens is spirit prepares you for the one. And so you get like little glimpses and little details of the one being the one you've agreed to have a life with, or you've agreed to be with your whole life. And so you sort of like, you can't mess with the free will, but you can like throw a one night stand in that has one quality of your husband, and then a one night stand has another quality of your husband. And over time, your free will wants those qualities. And so a lot of times these one nighters are just like to get the client to like open up to the idea of, and there's a higher spiritual agenda there. It's not random. I also do think that there's souls that steal bodies. I know there's souls that steal bodies. What I mean that is like, there's a soul whispering into her ear, let him take you home. Let him take you home. And like, I swear to God. And in the male's ear, you don't just get an Uber, then you can both go. It's like, there's like, and they think it's an idea, and like that baby still, boom, she gets pregnant, boom, a soul comes in that wasn't planned.
Yeah, I think we're always guided. I think there's so many parameters too. I think that, if we have a goal of what we want, we're just not quite there yet. Yeah, Spirit will throw this one in there, that one in there, be alluring. And so we get to the level, because I always say, in order to get what you want, you got to be the match of it, right? That's a simplistic fashion of the law of attraction, right? But the true sense of that, we have to become that by experiencing things that allow us to be that person we say that we want, and so forth. So yeah. The spirit, like, go in that disastrous relationship, go to that narcissist, right? Yeah. Until we snap out, like, I'm worth more than that, I'm better than this, and then we become that person for sure. But I always say, when we do the inner work, we don't have to, like, we can sort of bypass. That's like the cheat sheet of having to go through those relationships, spending all that time for just kind of doing the inner work and setting the boundaries and refining ourselves more consciously. Yeah. Then we have to like go through those karmic relationships, which are those are horrible.
Karmic relationships are tough.
They are tough.
I find part of the problem too is people are shut down sexually because they're still giving the church the ability to write the rules. It's like, no, sorry. I mean, a lot of shut down. In fact, interesting here in Palm Springs, there's like a bunch of gay nude resorts, right? Like nude hotels or whatever. I guess 2 of them have been bought by straight people and are treating straight nude. Oh, you heard? Okay, so and I run into guys here, and they're like, "This is stupid." The gay people here are like, "That it sucks." The straights are moving in, kind of thing. Yeah. I'm like, guys, you've inspired them. It's like the gay population has made it okay, sexuality okay, and that's really cool because nothing else was. You know what I mean? Like nothing else was helping the heterosexuals out of this, like, gonna piss off the Pope kind of, God doesn't like it kind of, God's gonna shame you for the genitals he gave you. It's like, okay, but I do feel like a lot of the problem that people have with sacred sexuality and whatever is that we've allowed someone else to say it's not sacred. Who the fuck are you? Get out of my bedroom, church. You know what I mean? Like, who are you? I'm sorry.
Get the fuck out of my bedroom. No, it's true, but that's the problem, and that's why I think sex as a meditative practice can really help people to synchronize the understanding. The sexual expression, the physical expression, is very much aligned with the soul expression, and using that such like tantric sex is like kind of another thing that people do. I saw this really strange video about a guy who actually helps women to have orgasms. They call it squirting. It's really odd, but they actually get down deep into the connection of the person and understanding how to really trigger the person. So it's a very emotional, very energetic, synchronizing with the soul energy to let it erupt from the physical body. So I think as a meditative practice, I think it helps us be more in tune. Why are we doing sex? Other than reproductive reasons, what's this lucid, fluid energy that we're trying to express, to share? And I think that's really becomes a really heightened of the synchronicity between, or being in sync with the physical and the soul, because, and I think it really helps in the sense of us realizing that it is all one. People tend to separate physical and spiritual, and I don't know why we tend to do this. It's actually one and the same. It's all the same, in that sense.
The idea
And
that Mary didn't get, Joseph didn't have sex with Mary. Like, really? What was that? Seriously? I mean, I really think that's not true. I mean, I'll have to ask Mary Magdalene next time I have a touch with her through Krista, and go. I have to ask her. I'm going to ask Mary Magdalene. That'd be a great thing to ask her. Like, what's the truth? You're the daughter. Did they have sex or not, Joseph and Mary? Because I kind of feel like it was just Constantine and his group that like did that to make it seem holier and to also to make sex seem bad. Because one of the problems they had at Rome when the Bible was first created and assembled was, everyone was just in bathhouses, men and women, just having sex all day. No one's paying taxes or doing anything. And, Constantine was pissed, imagine everyone at McDonald's having sex, you know what I mean? Like, geez, society can't get anything done. So anyways, I don't know. I question that, but I agree.
There's a new term to Big Mac, right? And chicken nuggets. There's a new term, new found for that.
You ran the McNuggets. So I think the tantric thing is very interesting. Like, I hope we go there, because from what I understand, it's through breathing, coordinated breathing, and
Kama Sutra,
that you carry energy up from your spinal cord, from the root chakra, and you carry this way of carrying this energy up your spinal cord. And apparently, whatever happens by the time it hits the crown, oh Lord, from my understanding, it's incredibly euphoric in the sense of what we're used to now. So, but it tells you we have a lot of maturing to do. There's been sacred sexuality across cultures and traditions. For instance, the Sufi, the devotional practice of merging love, presence, and surrender so deeply that intimacy becomes a pathway to union with the divine. So the more sex you have, the closer to God you get. I kind of like those. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Me and God ought to be like this by now. The Taoist, the practice of using sexual energy as a mindful spiritual force to nourish the body, deepens intimacy, and cultivate inner harmony. There you go. So that must be why they're doing it as
synergy. That's that synergy, you know. And I think that's the whole point. We want to be in sync with the different aspects of ourselves, spiritually and physical. That's where things become abundant, right? When we synergize our spiritual worth with our physical worth, we become financially abundant. And so same thing with our sexual nature, which you all have. And people pretend like, oh, I don't have it. Said if you're repressing something, you have it, but you're repressing it. And so we have it. And so how are we marrying the two? And so I think these are all elevations. Me personally, I'm like, my goal is to evolve in all these different aspects that we already have. Sexuality is a part of it. I want to evolve with that as much as I possibly can. Might take time, right? But I'm trying to do the evolution of all of it. Not just like Scott Cruz. There's different layers of this. And so I think these traditions are really helpful in doing so and putting a meaning behind the sexual nature that we have.
Well, I'll tell you, these people back in the past had a lot more time on their hands, and they could think of things like this. Tantric was the art of weaving breath, presence, and conscious intimacy into transform erotic energy into spiritual awakening and deep connection. Gotcha. Well, I'll tell you, I have had one experience. I swear to God, it was so over the top that I literally, upon climax, floated above my body and fell back down.
You astral projected.
I astral projected. It was so intense. It astral projected. And I've never had anything like that. Yeah. It was, I don't know, it threw me off. I was like very young. I think I was like 19. And just had chosen a partner that had sort of something about the energy together. And that was the first time I was like, whoa, like there's something to the energetic side of sex that I had never realized was possible. Yeah. And to this day, it isn't repeated. So, we'll see. But maybe that's where it goes. It's like literally, who knows what's possible when you start playing with that energy, spiritual energy and physical touch,
Yeah. Absolutely. And I used to be when I was younger, very visual and really all about like the visual aspects of things, being voyeur, exhibitionist, just all about the physicality. And so as I got older, I'm like, I need the depth of it to make the physical pleasurable. Right. And once I started trying to focus on that, then it becomes a different ball game. Yeah. And so I have to make sure my partners understand that depth first. And so not so much about, it's about the physical stuff only. It's about, there's a depth behind it that makes things 10 times hotter. You know, and that's the chemistry. That's all about chemistry. And I think we need to be focusing first on chemistry, and we're very physical. I think it's nature. Our culture has been very physical and very aesthetic, focused. And so I think that we're moving out of that, more.
I'm not.
But I think that's kind of the evolution we're all going to be seeing too with a lot of the sexual nature.
I'll tell you, I've always been energetic because I'll be like, "Oh my God, look at that!" And my friends be like, "Are you crazy? You go, you go with that, we're
Oh,
gonna
I
kill
know.
you." I was like, I seem to be attracted to like
I
whatever.
know.
It's an energetic thing for me, like it always has been. But speaking of energy, I remember with my wife, we decided to have children. We got married first. We're very very proper about it. But I calculate astrologically when we like this one time of the month. There's one time in the month where her and I were just both like, "Argh," like, and sure enough, like I calculated it, and sure enough, he was conceived on that exact transit. So it's like there's something energetic, even with the planets, that push us and synergize our energy. It was amazing, actually, that happened. And I knew, I'll just say this, at the time of conception, I knew I conceived a child. There's something that happened in that moment that was like beyond any kind of climax I'd ever had. Like I felt like something fly through me. It was
Yeah.
incredible. And afterwards she was like, "Did you feel that?" I was like, "Yes." She's like, "I think I'm pregnant." Let's go get a test. Like you can't wait. But it was incredible. Like so to me, that was also an indicator of sacred sexuality that when we're calling for a child, planning for a child, timing it for a child, we had this moment that was very, larger than life. I mean, it was a moment I'll never forget, actually.
Yeah, I think that if this applies to like everything that we put our heart into, and like I was just thinking about like emotional eaters, like how when they eat that food, it's like, oh my God, it's so good. Like they're marrying themselves with the food. It's like so pleasurable because their heart is
Yeah.
into it, and of course they have issues with that because obviously they're using their heart not in the way that's beneficial, or to an inanimate object. But it just goes to show you we can connect with almost anything if we allow ourselves to. Right.
Yeah.
People with have like memories of things that people have passed. Like, oh, but like I just can't get rid of this. It means so much. I'm like, but that's not them. You're associating. You're connecting the true meaning of something to an object, and so we have to be very careful about that we're actually allowing ourselves to connect with things that are actually truly a soul-to-soul connection, and not allow ourselves to, I would say, blind ourselves, disorient ourselves, and think it's an object or a circumstance, right? And so I think relationships help us with this, because then we gotta start realizing what is the real connection. We need a soul-to-soul connection. So use those hookups as a template of learning. Use the narcissist relationship that you're stuck to, the ghoster, as a template to learn what's real for you.
I'll tell you, every time I have a client talks about a narcissist, which is every day.
Yes.
My question was like, "But how is the sex?" And they're like, "Oh my God, it's incredible." So it's like no one's admitting this. Like the sex that gets you in that relationship with the narcissist, okay?
Yeah.
And that's what gets them in every time. That's why they can't leave them. What I mean? Like,
Right.
because there's something about the chemistry that's like addictive. Yeah, it hooks you in. It's very interesting. So
we can connect with anything. I always say, but how are you connecting? So if you're just connecting on that parameter, all right, that might be hot, but there's other parameters that you need, and so I think people think that one refinement of that, like hot sex connection, is like end all be all. I was like, no, you're mismatching on these other 19 variables of connection. So I think we need to see broadly, because what the heart truly wants, in essence, and sometimes we get that one little connection. I tell people, I felt like really connected to this one lamp I just loved it. I could saw it in my house, but until I realized it was 10 grand. I'm like, I'm good. And so we have to understand the different variables of things that we may shortchange ourselves on, that, because that one connection we're blinded to, like you said, the narcissist with the hot sex energy.
Connection can be boring, I'll tell you. Like, I think people want hot, steamy. And when you want hot, steamy, I'll tell you, when I look at it astrologically, people, because I'm always helping women, of course, and so it's like, well, what's the kind of guy for me? The ones that they are with that has a great sex but not a good guy, always, like, you see his Mars is way high step number, her Venus is low, or vice versa. So if there's opposite, Mars Venus, and they're opposite as far as high low, that is the sexual attraction, because there's such a huge differential. Whatever's high pours into the low, and the experience of both being rebalanced energetically is euphoric, Right. And so you often find that there's a balancing that happens. Everything in nature seeks balance and order. And so when you have extremes of two sides, you're going to have a great, intimacy. But will that last over time? No, that doesn't last over time. That's an attraction. So it's interesting to watch in astrology. I'm just glad that we're actually opening up and chilling out here in America about it. And so it seems like the millennials are very open and chill. They identify as polyamorous all the times, and just like they're open to anything. And that's great. And that's what we want, is a world where you can make love anywhere, with mutual consent. Right.
And I would kind of want to finalize this too, because I've noticed a huge uptick in my straight male clients. I say straight male because we think gay men go to spiritual needs a lot of times, but straight men don't typically do. I've had an uptick in straight men, which is telling me that straight men are seeking their divine feminine within themselves, to be more nurturing, to be more intuitive, to be more in flow. And I find more of my female clients like, I want this sexually. They're being more vocal about that.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of the women are having more of their divine masculine approach to things, balancing that out, and a lot of the men are tapping into their divine feminine. So it's that synergy and that balancing act that's going to make relationships and the sexual relationships hot and steamy.
I've also seen women go down to lower the divine feminine to he's got to have this and make this million a year. Don't even fight to me. It's like, whoa, shit, man. Naming the price up front on the ad. It's like, I guess I can't afford you. It's like talking about sway.
Well, that's just shallow.
That way. From what I hear, in Atlantis, the women saw the men as just sex objects and really stupid and not necessary, and it's flipped. So we'll see. But I'm like, well, let's go back to that. Why not? But we'll see. It's interesting, especially as the Atlantean memories start to open. Right?
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting. Well, I think that's all we have for time for today.
Yeah.
I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful y'all are here. We'll see you next week. Until then.
Speaking of grateful, we're going to talk about gratitude next week. So that's
that's interesting. That's very interesting.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Well, Scott, I'm grateful for you.
I'm so thankful for you too, Christopher. Thank you very much. I'm grateful for me too.
All right. We'll talk about gratitude next week. Hey, guys, don't deal with the shift show. Just lead out loud. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Good night, guys. Bye. That's right, because we're going to be a day before Thanksgiving next week's episode.
Yes. The only thing is I have nothing to be thankful for. What do I do?
It's got to be something.
Yeah, maybe.
Why don't you be thankful for not having anything to be thankful about? Because that means you have no burden.
Yeah. Well, I'm thankful. I'm grateful for it.
That's a good term. It's a good power. It's a tool.
I'd be grateful for giving.
Great, Thanksgiving.